Have you ever achieved a dream only to discover, for no reason beyond maybe just outgrowing it, that it's no longer your dream? Or maybe you're holding on to some desire or a piece of your identity, even after you know it really doesn't fit you anymore, because letting it go feels impossible. Kayaian was a top-notch professional cellist when she chose to walk away and think about her life differently. Her new book, Beyond Potential, gives readers the opportunity to rethink and redefine their own life's journey too.
Somebody comes to you and they say, well, I can't do this because, and it's not always an outright victim mentality, but there's always an external reason, like somebody is keeping them from something, or they're not the right type of person. And really starting to take responsibility for getting what you want, no matter what external things you think are happening outside.
Hi, I'm Dana Del Val, author, TEDx speaker, and visibility coach for leaders ready to effect change and become audaciously visible. On this podcast, I sit down with leaders from across backgrounds to explore the space where curiosity, connection, and progress meet, especially in a polarized world. Welcome to Brave Middle Ground. Kate, welcome to Brave Middle Ground.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to chat with you today.
Well, I'm thrilled to chat with you because I just finished your book again for the second time, Beyond Potential. And so I'm really looking forward to talking about some pieces of it with you and sharing it with my audience.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear what you thought of it and what questions you have and all of
Yeah,
it.
I have lots of thoughts and questions, so I expect a great conversation. But let's start where I always start, which is how do you define middle ground from any perspective you want to take, Kate?
Oh, middle ground. I mean, there are so many different perspectives, right? And I think for me, especially just coming off having written the book Beyond Potential, I talk a lot about the three phases, right? So the first part is all about reassessing our old stories, kind of our past. We're looking back at our past. And the third part is about reigniting future projects and doing what we want to do. And that middle part, the middle ground of the book, if you will, is about the present and redefining who we want to be now after we've sort of discovered the things that we've been doing and thinking and feeling by default from those old stories, and questioning that. Like, why do I think that? Why do I do that thing? Why do I have that habit? Why do I have that tendency? Why have I limited myself in this way all these years? And also, I think that's where the bravery comes in, is really being in the present moment, having looked back at your past, decided with intention and clarity what you want to be doing, what you really want to be doing, and then looking ahead bravely into the future. So for me, it's sort of brave middle ground is about facing your truths in the present moment. And me, I just turned 50, so it's also sort of a midlife thing of,
Uh-huh.
okay, I have all of these experiences in my past. I also have all of this life ahead of me. And right now, it does feel like it takes a lot of bravery to sort of claim that and say, okay, here's what's next.
Okay, so thank you for that. I just want to add to that a bit because I'm a couple of years older than you. Um, and I too felt like that transition from 49 to 50 was very much a moment of I probably don't get to anymore claim that I don't have experience or I don't have any idea how to navigate something. And I get to look ahead and say, the sky is the limit. I mean, I really felt the most powerful, the most emboldened, the most potential of my life the morning of my 50th birthday. And that has really stuck with me because I think you have sort of two options at 50. You can either say, well, I guess now my major ships have sailed and it's time to sort of recede into the land of the invisible, which I spend some time living in.
Mhm.
Or you can say, screw it. I'm going forward because what the hell do I have to lose? Like, what can somebody do to me now?
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
super powerful.
Yes. It is so powerful. I felt the same way. I felt like I've seen some things.
Hmm.
I've been through some things. I know what I am capable of. And yet, yeah, there's so much hopefully, knock on wood, a lot, many more years left.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you get that sense that time is running out.
Yes.
If you're lucky, you're at the halfway point.
Right. Right. And even if you are at the halfway point, you're probably not entirely, but you're probably not all systems go at 95.
Right.
So, I mean, if we're lucky, we've got probably 30-ish pretty robust years left. Well,
Yeah.
I know how fast the last 30 went.
Right? I think I was
So
still wearing this outfit 30 years ago.
that's why they say invest in good clothes. They never go
Exactly.
out of
Yeah.
style.
I almost remember what I was doing this day 30 years ago. Yeah, it flies by. It really does. It really
Yeah.
does. And so to have that clarity and but like I said, for me, a lot of it was looking back and saying, okay, and I know that my book is geared towards creatives and
Hmm.
people who want to, do big things with their life. It's really for people who are high achievers who want to do things in a big way and are used to doing things in a big way. But at the same time, I think everybody faces that moment when they or has the capability of facing that moment where they say, why have I been doing things this way?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it can throw you a little bit, especially when you're 50 and being like, I thought that was just how it was done.
Yeah. So Kate, just for our audience's purposes, give us the, 2-minute version of your big high achieving life because you had, and I'm only putting it in past tense because you willingly stepped away from it, but you
Yeah.
had this big creative life, which by many standards would be the thing that everybody else is striving for. So talk
Mhm.
about what you were in this previous
Yeah.
time.
Well, of course, it all started when I had a crush on a boy when I was 4 years old, and he played the cello. And therefore, if we were going to get married, I also had to play the cello. That's
Well,
just how it was.
obviously, you can't
Obviously,
just leave
right?
Bach to one of you.
Exactly. 4-year-old logic. So I started the cello. My mom put me in lessons. I had great teachers. I mean, I lucked into it. I lived in an area where there were great teachers, and I took to it. And I ended up at the New England Conservatory of Music in Boston on a full
Uh-huh.
scholarship. Had an amazing time there. Was whisked off to a fellowship at the New World Symphony in Miami, working with Michael Tilson Thomas in this orchestral academy. Um, Going to the best festivals. Like I just had this amazing life. I got to travel all over the world. I got to play with groups that were, making incredible recordings and winning Grammys and got to play with all sorts of cool people from Yo-Yo Ma to Jay-Z. And it was great. It was incredible. And yeah, at a certain point, it was actually around the pandemic. I had been thinking about it for a year or two before the pandemic, but when 2020 hit and all of my concerts were canceled, my big West Coast 2-week tour was canceled, and I felt a lot of relief.
Mm,
I felt a lot of relief that I didn't have to do it. I felt so prepared. I had played the recital programs a dozen times. It wasn't relief because I was nervous and I didn't have to do the scary thing. It was relief that I didn't have to be on planes and in hotels for 2.5 weeks straight, that I didn't have to deal with the logistics of traveling with my cello, that I didn't have to, go to a new city and spend my entire day resting and practicing instead of
mhm,
getting to know the city. And then
mhm.
there was something for me that I started to feel like a trained monkey
Mm, uh-huh.
walking on stage. And I loved my favorite part of performing was communicating with the audience, whether that was through the pieces of music that I was playing, um, or just talking from stage. I loved talking to people. I loved giving them permission to listen to things in new ways. I loved the conversations I had with people afterwards. Um, and the walking out on stage, and again, this wasn't stage fright. I have no problem walking on stage, but like the idea of walking on stage on a Friday night, bowing, playing for these people and having them clap. And it just seemed a little absurd all of a sudden. And
Mhm.
I realized that, at 45, then, like, was I going to keep doing this for another 25, 30 years?
Mhm.
I I didn't really want to at that point. And during the pandemic when everything was in lockdown, I took on some creative projects. I wasn't performing, but I am kind of one of those people that if I'm left with 10 minutes without anything to do, I will come up with some brilliant idea
Mhm.
and I must move on it. And yeah, I came up with some creative projects, a festival, an online festival, some online coaching, and I fell in love with coaching. Absolutely fell in love with coaching. And then I studied it, I trained, I got better as a coach. It, started out with career coaching, teaching other musicians how to create projects like I was doing, and turned into coaching for creatives. And so that's really my pivot. I really was playing with the greatest artists and in the greatest halls. And, I wasn't Yo-Yo Ma, I wasn't some big soloist, right? But, you know, by all definitions, I was doing what people go to music school to be able to do.
Yeah.
I was very lucky and very fortunate, and I'm very grateful. And I never hated it. I'm very happy to say.
Yeah.
Never hated
Yeah, that's a gift. I mean, certainly, as an actor, I never had the l long success that you had, but, um, the last big summer of summer stock that I did, we did 64 performances of this
it.
musical,
Yeah,
and we were kind of in the desert, so there was no it was an outdoor theater. There was no real chance of a rain out.
yeah,
But boy, by about the 30th night, we were all doing everything we could to ask whatever higher power
yeah,
anybody
right?
believed in, just send a little rain, just give us a canceled night because this has gotten old.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, what's new for the audience is not new for the performer. Um,
No, no,
and
and
while there is certainly an energy and a dynamic and a newness that an audience can bring, they only bring so much. And
mhm,
you can only do so much from the stage to kind of shake it up. So
exactly.
I really
I can't imagine. I mean, perform when I was doing recitals and concertos, you do them multiple times, but never night after night after night after night.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
there are
that's
weeks,
tedious.
months in between,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's got to be tough.
Well, it's tedious and you feel guilty saying that it's tedious because you know that to not be performing is the worst part. I mean, your
Yeah,
dream is to perform.
right.
So you feel like a jerk to complain that you're getting paid to perform and
Hmm.
you want the rain to come and shut the show down for the night. So,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And I faced that too when I confided in some close friends and colleagues that I was thinking about stopping my performance career, like essentially no longer being a professional performing cellist.
Mhm.
And again, I didn't hate it. I wasn't unhappy. So it wasn't like I'm quitting the cello. It never felt like
Mhm.
I'm quitting the cello. It was just like, I don't want to have to practice every day and go play concerts anymore. I'm ready to do something different. But every single one of those people, my closest friends and colleagues, told me that I couldn't.
I was gonna ask you, did COVID give you the permission you needed
Mm,
by forcing a stop?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely it did.
COVID
Absolutely
changed
it
my
did.
life too.
Because I told myself, I said, well, this is in a way as tragic as it was for many people and many families. I was like, this is a gift because this is at least a 6 month sabbatical, if nothing else.
Yes.
I am taking 6 months off from performing because that's the way the world is right now, and
Mhm.
I will see how it feels.
Mhm.
And it's a gift because I don't have to make any announcements. I can just do what I'm doing. And then when this all comes to an end and everything goes back to normal, I can either just like pick up where I left off
Hmm.
or then I'll know how I
Yeah.
felt. And after 6 months, of course, things hadn't really opened up yet. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, maybe after a year I'll know. Because I really
Hmm.
wasn't sure.
Hmm.
And I wasn't sure because everybody told me that I was wrong to be thinking that.
Hmm.
And it was like, one person, one of my best friends was like, you can't, she's also a cellist, and she was like, you can't quit because everyone will just assume that you had some sort of like nervous breakdown. Like that's the
Oh.
only reason.
Hmm.
I'm like, well, okay,
Interesting.
first of all, who cares if they think that?
Right.
But
Right.
right, but
People
also,
already think artists are crazy,
I
so
know,
let
right?
them just lean into
Exactly. What
that.
do I have to lose? Um, yeah, no, they'll think that something is horribly wrong. I was like, why does something have to be horribly wrong?
Yeah.
And I looked online, I Googled it, I looked for biographies, I looked for any proof. I talk in my book, like you want to find proof of somebody who's done it, right? And I looked for that proof of a high achieving, a successful musician in the middle of their career who stopped playing not because they were injured or had some big public falling out or they just did something else.
Hmm.
And I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. I found one example of my friend Ab, who's a brilliant violist. He was at New World Symphony with me, and he went into arts administration and played less and less and less, and
Oh.
finally became, I think he's the artistic director of Carnegie Hall right now.
Oh,
So he
well, that's
stayed and yeah, no big deal. No, he's
yeah.
brilliant at everything he does, but he was the only example I could find of somebody who was like, this has been great. And I'm so grateful for all of it. And now I'm going to go do something different because I'm interested in doing something different.
So that really calls to mind about 14 things. So I'm going to try to hold on to them and just talk through them one by one. The first thing is I can remember being in college and anytime we would have a professional actor come in to do a master class or anything like that, they would say, if you can think of anything else you wouldn't mind doing or you would enjoy doing, go do that. You should only pursue the arts if it is the singular driving focus of your life. Because if it isn't, it's too hard a path.
Yeah, I think that's crap too.
I think it's garbage. It's
Yeah.
garbage. First of all, there are all kinds of moderately talented artists who are wildly successful in every genre of the arts. There
Hmm.
are all kinds of extraordinarily talented artists who, for a million reasons, will never be known to us.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think to say, if you can think of anything else, first of all, if you can't think of anything else, what the hell is the matter with you?
Right.
You're a really simple person, and I'm sorry for you because it's dull.
Yes. Oh, I spend a lot of time on stages doing my best to dismantle these stories,
Yeah.
right? Of like, what do you mean if you can think of anything else? Like a hobby, even? I mean, we are told as musicians from the age of whatever, 3, 4, 5 years old, that we're not even supposed to have hobbies. We are supposed
Mhm.
to live, eat, and breathe our instrument. And I know it's from talking to dancer friends, and it's it's just so toxic. Because
Yes.
yes, true excellence requires a certain amount of obsession.
Yep.
And I do believe, I've heard certain things like, okay, there's one school of thought that says, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't think that the person who said that was like a truly great artist or doing anything at the highest possible level,
Mhm.
right? Because you can't possibly do everything in your life at that level.
Right.
Um, but I do think that you could do maybe two things at that high a level. And there's plenty of room left over to do lots of other things at a pretty damn fine level as well.
Or at a marginal level or at a poor
Or even
level.
just be bad at it. That's
Yeah,
fine
I
too,
mean,
right?
so my husband and I watercolor paint, and for everyone listening to this, I put that in quotation marks because we're pretty poor at it.
I love
You know,
it.
I'm not watercolor painting in the hopes of making that my career
Yeah.
or even in the hopes of making it um a consistent hobby. We
Mhm.
do it relatively inconsistently. We enjoy it when we do it. Nobody needs to see it. It's not
Mhm.
for the purpose of anything beyond just, do you want to watercolor paint for 30 or 40 minutes? Yeah, all right. And that's the end of that.
Yeah.
It brings me great joy. It probably calms me down better than almost anything else I do. It frustrates me. Sometimes I finish a piece and think, "God, that's pretty good."
Yeah.
Often I finish a piece and think, "Wow, wow, it's pretty poor." And that is all okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I love gardening. That is
I
one of my
I
other
know this
passions.
about you.
We love to grow our own vegetables and flowers, and I love gardening. And I don't know if you know the YouTube channel Garden Answer.
I
Laura
don't.
and Aaron Laboutier. They live in outside of Boise in
Okay.
Eastern Oregon,
Yeah.
and they post 6 days a week.
Wow.
And they have this huge property. They keep adding onto their property, and they do a different video and a different project every single morning.
Wow.
And I found myself like, I go down to my garden. I'm like, oh, this doesn't, their garden, everything looks so great and so awesome, and everything's growing so well. And I found myself feeling like, I wish I could just, I wish gardening was my job. I wish I could just spend all day working in my garden like they do.
Mhm.
And it reminded me of, whenever I have adult amateur students, I don't teach anymore, but I had quite a few of them, and I loved working with adult amateurs. Loved it. Fantastic. And often they would reach a point where they would say, oh, I just want to do this as my job. I just want to do this 24/7. And they sort of fantasize of like if I was a professional cellist. And I realized like no, that's not it. Because if you were a professional cellist, you would have to deal with like the dark sides. And if I was gardening all day, I would have to deal with, making
Yeah.
YouTube videos and dealing with sponsors and all of that stuff that they have to deal with.
Mhm.
Um, and that it is really okay to just do things at
Yeah.
your
Yes,
level,
and
whatever
to
that means to
enjoy
you.
it for the place that it takes in your life right now.
Yeah. And know that it's feeding whatever it is that you are, and maybe you're just doing a bunch of hobbies and you don't have some great source of excellence that you're pursuing. But if you do, if you're a writer, or if you're a professor, or if you're a doctor, anything that you do, that you are doing your best day after day to pursue a level of excellence in it, those hobbies feed that.
Mhm.
The joy that it brings feeds that energy and allows you to work better.
Yeah. Th the other big thing that both, what this reminds me of, but also is, I think, the most powerful thing about your book for me, and not everybody is gonna take this from it, but for me, the enormous, really freeing takeaway is it's okay to set it down.
Mhm.
It's okay to have spent the first half of your life pursuing something, desperately wanting something, working toward it, trying to figure out how to get to it, whatever that process and path was,
Mhm.
and then to one day wake up and say, "I'm not 100% positive that I wanna continue to strive for that."
Mhm.
Um, there is a I think there's a mystique. I think there's a secret dream. I think there's a cultural desire or a personal desire to sort of live outside of traditional cultural norms
Mhm.
to the arts
Yeah.
that makes it hard to say, I don't really want to do this anymore, or I don't really want to pursue this
Mhm.
anymore. So you were at the top of your game and set it down. I spent the first 40 47-ish years of my life, 41 of the 47 years of my life, only wanting to be a movie star,
Yeah.
and never getting there for lots of reasons. Continuing to keep my foot in the door, doing as much as I could from a very local, not at all Hollywood perspective. But somewhere along the way, I would say about 5 years ago, I started to think, God, I don't even know if somebody offered it to me, if it's something I even still want. That is what's the word I want to use? It's an unsettling realization to have.
Mhm.
The only thing I can liken it to, and I don't have any experience with this, is, but I wonder if it feels like waking up next to your spouse and saying, I don't think I want to be married to you anymore. Nothing bad has happened. I don't hate you. You didn't ruin my life, but I don't think I want to be married to you anymore. That feels like a huge, massive shift.
Yeah.
Talk about how you help people with that, Kate, because I think at its core, one side of this book is absolutely about saying to somebody like me, Dana, it's okay to stop saying, I want to be a movie star. It's okay to
Mhm.
stop saying that
Yeah.
and to say something else.
Yeah. Well, I think what I try to do with the book is to say, Dana, what was it about being a movie star that you wanted?
Yes.
And how are you finding that elsewhere in your life?
Yes. Yes.
Because you might have been telling your story that you wanted one thing and that the only way to get that thing was to be a movie star.
Mhm.
And of course, to be a movie star when we're young, we think like, oh, I'm going to be walking the red carpet in this gorgeous gown. I'm going to be making millions of dollars per movie. I'm going to get to work with all of these other movie stars.
Mhm.
And we kind of think of it in one way, like as a cellist, like I'm going to play the Dvorak cello concerto with the Berlin Phil. It's going to be incredible. And we don't think of everything that goes with it. Like,
Mhm.
oh, and then half of that $1 million paycheck is going to go to my agents and
Uh-huh.
taxes, and I'm going to feel all of this pressure to never age.
Mhm.
And, if one of my, friends slash rivals, my frenemies wins a role that I really wanted, am I going to, I'm going to be upset. Like everything that goes along with it, because you can't just play the Dvorak cello concerto with the Berlin Phil. You have to have 5 years of every weekend is booked.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're just not worth it to your management company, right?
Right.
And to realize, in some ways, like, oh, it's not that I didn't want all of those things, actually. What I wanted was to be seen.
Mm.
What I wanted was to be able to have interesting conversations with people. And what I wanted was to have a really interesting life that I was proud of. And you know what? I have all of those things.
Mhm.
I don't need to be a movie star in order to have those things.
It's such an interesting way to say it. I even think there's something a little bit less discussed than all of that, because I think your average person can both see the A side, the highlight reel, and
Hmm.
imagine some of the downside. Like, I think we can all imagine at Yo-Yo Ma's level or at Nicole Kidman's level how really terrible it would be to walk into any space and understand that everybody is looking at every single thing you do and everybody thinks they own a piece of you.
Hmm.
So if I'm standing, my mom one time stood behind Yo-Yo Ma at a pharmacy in New York City. She did not say anything to him, but if she would have, it would not have been unreasonable for her to expect that he would have been so kind and so
Hmm.
gracious and so pleased to hear this woman he's got no idea about, that she really is moved by his music. Well, why should he care?
Oh, because he's yo-yo. I mean, he actually would have bad example, Dana, because he's like
Okay.
the nicest person on the planet. But
Okay.
yes, I
That's
think
good. I'm glad to hear
every
that because he
every other
certainly
human
appears
being
to
in
be.
his position would be like, please leave me alone.
Please stop talking to me.
Yeah,
Of course
it's
you love me. I'm yo-yo freaking ma. Yeah, no kidding. But,
Ah,
but what I started to realize at just the most basic level was being in front of the camera is like 5% of the work.
yeah,
So you do
exactly.
the 25 auditions to get the one casting where you literally feel like you're standing naked in front of people and they're going, you're fat and ugly. Next.
Yeah.
So you got to get over that. Um, then you get cast. Then you got to get there. You got to be up at 4 a.m. so that you can sit for hours while they set the lights so that
Hmm.
you can be in front of the camera for a minute and a half so that something can, fly by overhead and ruin the shoot. So you got to start all over again so that you can go sit and look at the craft food table, which you actually can't eat because God
Kenny.
forbid you put any weight on, so that you can then get done about midnight and be exhausted to get back up and do it again the next day. There's so much tedium to
Hmm.
acting.
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough to get cast, it's incredibly tedious.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're with people who are really interesting to spend the day with, and sometimes you're with complete dolts and you think this cannot be how I'm spending my life for X number of dollars. And I'm not talking about at the highest level, but the same thing happens there. Meryl Streep spends a lot of time waiting to get on set. Now,
Hmm.
she's probably got a really nice trailer. Doesn't matter. She's still waiting to get on set.
George Clooney was once so bored on set that he spent hours with me, like just
Well, there you
hanging
go.
out, just bored. He's like, they won't let me change out of my costume. They aren't going to need me forever. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So George and I have had similar but very different experiences. But at the end of the day, acting is acting is acting is acting. Whether you're making a local commercial or you're making the next Oscar winning best film of the year,
Hmm.
the process is the process.
Yeah.
And the process is really mostly boring and most importantly, not at all creative.
Yeah. But I think that, you were asking, what I work through with clients who are
Yeah.
in that space. And it's important. I talk a lot about the carrot and the stick,
Mm,
right? So the stick is that waiting time, the working with a bunch of adults, the not being able to eat anything, the all of that stuff. That's what you're running away from, right? But there's always something that we're running towards
mm,
as well. And so, that's why I asked that question. And I'm curious, Dana, if you can pinpoint what was it that you were looking for in being a movie
mm.
star? Like at its core, like what was the essence?
Yeah, at its core, it's absolutely about storytelling. It's
Mm,
about, for certain, being under the spotlight, whatever that metaphorical spotlight is. That
mhm.
being seen piece is huge. The ability to communicate something to masses of people, whether that's somebody else's life or something magical, or I mean, whatever story you're telling. Um, and the opportunity to do it with other creative people, to be in a creative space. So all of those things matter tremendously to me as much today as they ever have. It's just that I now have moved it from movie star to podcast host to
Yeah.
keynote speaker to coach, to helping other people figure out how do you even have the audacity to show up and think you belong, because I know I belong here. I
Oh,
have no question.
absolutely.
I've never questioned it.
Yeah. So
And
isn't
so
that
how
a
do I help
beautiful
other
thing?
people?
Because, if that's an incredible list of things that you were drawn towards and
Mm,
that you were seeking and that you love and wanted and continue to want to have in your life. Yet if you just put down that list and had somebody look at it, they wouldn't necessarily say, "Oh, that's a movie star.
you're right.
That's an actor. That's a successful actor." So they
Hmm.
wouldn't necessarily say that. So at some point in your life, whether you saw an actress or you heard something, you told yourself this story that
Hmm.
the only way to get those things was to be a big Hollywood movie star.
Hmm.
And so you lived your life focusing on getting that thing. And to be, it's one thing to say, like, okay, I guess I'm not going to be a movie star. I'll go find something else to do.
Hmm.
That seems so sad, right?
Yes, it
Or
does.
I'm not going to be a movie star because I hate these horrible aspects of the job. So now I have to find something else to do. That creates its own baggage, right? And
Well, it sounds like you're making excuses for just being a failure
right. And
at its
why
at
are
its
you a
most basic.
failure, right?
Yeah.
So just reassessing the story of like, okay, these things have not changed. These are still the things that I want. And by the way, if the things that you want have changed, that is also okay. But if they
Yes.
haven't, and you say, okay, well, I'm gonna look at these stories. Okay, oh, I remember the moment I saw that movie and I saw Jessica Lange in that film, and I thought, I want to be that too, right?
Hmm.
But actually, I'm finding like I'm being drawn now towards public speaking and writing, and I want to have a podcast, and I think that I can have those qualities that are so important to me by doing those things.
Hmm.
And that's the carrot, right? You're moving towards that new thing. And that is such an incredibly vibrant and positive and exciting energy. And it's just, that's the middle part of the book, just redefining of like, okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm seeking. This is what matters to me. And now I'm redefining how I am going to get those things and keep those things in my life. So it's a matter of redefining, not quitting or giving up
Mm.
or leaving behind.
So talk a little bit about, because I think this is a really valuable example. You and your husband both introduced you as, I'm Kate the cellist. This is my wife, Kate
Yeah,
the cellist.
yeah,
And I love that you have a science professor husband because so
yeah,
do I.
yeah.
Um,
The
and
ultimate in nerdiness. Yeah.
I know, but in sort of the best kind of ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And such a great compliment to my own nerdiness. I'll just speak for the two of us. But talk about that shift because again, it's in keeping with this theme, but how do you help people not sort of move from I'm Kate. I was a cellist. I've set that down. I mean, not because I had, there's all this weird backpedaling we do because
Mhm.
God forbid we let someone think that we're a failure, or as your friend said, that you've had a nervous breakdown.
Mhm.
We all, I think, want to show that we chose this, not that it was chosen or foisted off on us.
Yeah.
So how did you make that shift and what has that done for you and how do you help your clients?
Yeah. I wish I could tell you that it was like, oh, I had this formula and it was so smooth. And, it can be, it has its awkward moments. And for
Hmm.
me, it depends on who the conversation was with, right? So if it was with a musician or somebody in the arts, it was easier for me to say, I was a professional cellist until very recently, and now I'm focusing on coaching and I run the Bermuda Philharmonic. Like, because they understand what coaching is, they understand what it means to run an orchestra, they understand those other things, right?
Hmm.
I found I have a lot of friends here in Bermuda who are in various industries, and coach, what kind of coach? I mean, it was just going to lead to so many questions like, oh,
Hmm.
an author, what have you written? And it's like, well, when you haven't published your book yet, that's, you know,
Yeah.
a terrible question to ask. Um, Honestly, sometimes if I just didn't feel like dealing with it, I would just say that, be like, oh, what do you do? And be like, nothing. I don't work.
Wow. How was that received?
Brilliant, because if they couldn't talk about work, it was like, oh, do you work? No. Oh, do you have kids? No. Oh, and then we just find something really interesting to talk about.
Ah, I love that answer.
It was
What do you
great.
do? I do nothing.
No, yeah, I don't work. And then, they usually are like, well, that must be nice. I'm like, it's great. Moving on. How's the water?
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. I've never heard anybody say that. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. I think most of us are afraid to be seen as insignificant.
Oh, that's
That's a
funny because I
really
didn't feel
insignificant
insignificant at
answer.
all. Yeah.
Wow. Hmm. I have a friend who has been a stay-at-home parent her whole life. Um, and her sister-in-law one time said to her, "So, what do you do?" And she took terrific offense to it because, I mean, it did what I think we kind of have decided is true about stay-at-home parents, which is, well, what's your real value?
Yeah. Wow.
And that's not the case at all. But we don't understand people who don't work, or
Yeah.
we make assumptions about people who don't work. Either it's because they're extremely privileged or they're extremely lazy or, whatever.
Mhm.
There's not a sort of functioning person who sits in the middle who just says, "Yeah, I don't work."
I mean, I think I would be fascinated if somebody, was like, "Yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom." I'd be like, "What does that look like?"
Yeah.
But I would be like, "Do you go to tennis? Like, are you on the PTA? Like, are you at home dealing with logistics just all day long when the kids
Yeah.
are in school? Like, what does that actually look like?" I would be fascinated, but I think most people are under the impression that stay-at-home parents are incredibly busy and
Well, yeah, because I think
working
they
a
really
lot.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Busier than the rest
Yeah.
of us. But yeah, no, it was that was my temporary thing. And it again, it was only with certain people that I didn't just it wasn't the time, it wasn't the moment.
Yeah.
Um but the truly awkward thing that I mentioned in the book was when my husband just didn't know how to introduce me to people anymore. He would catch himself and he'd be like, "This is Kate. She's a I mean, I
Human.
don't think he knew what I did,
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
first couple of years." And and yeah, slowly I would grasp onto something that people understood. So
Yeah.
there are some people on this island who they think that what I do is I run the Bermuda Philharmonic,
Mhm.
which is true.
Mhm.
It's a volunteer job. I'm president of the board, and the conductor, but they can
You
grasp, they understand.
conduct the Bermuda Orchestra?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I still have my, I conducted a bit in Boston as well, so I
Okay.
just sort of brought that back and I love it. It's fun. Um, so I do have one toe in the musical world. But yeah, it's if you can find one thing whether it's, oh, I have a podcast. Now, most people understand that, like, if you are trying to earn an income and make a living and have a career, like just having one podcast is probably not going to do it unless you're Tim Ferriss or Joe Rogan, right? Like,
Right.
okay, but people aren't thinking that far ahead.
Yes.
They just kind of want to get a basic grasp of like, who are you? What this is just this is kind of like oh, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
The answer is fine. The answer is I have a podcast. The answer is I run the Philharmonic, right? Like
Yeah.
then if you really get to know the person and you have a more in-depth conversation, you can get into the weeds a little bit, get into like, well, I'm transitioning from this career to this um but yeah, I think of it like that question of how are you?
Mhm.
Sometimes the answer is just fine.
Yeah, you're right.
Sometimes the answer is actually things have been a little tough lately,
Mhm.
right? Like it depends on the person and it depends on the situation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for my husband, he has slowly figured it out. And, I knew he was proud of me
Mhm.
no matter what I did. But he did have to grieve not having a wife who was a cellist because he found that to be very exotic and fancy. And,
Mhm.
he liked being able to say that he was married to a professional cellist.
Well, like, I like saying I'm married to a man who's Irish but grew up in England. And when he became an American citizen 3 years ago and said to me, "I'm giving up my Irish passport," I said, yeah, you're not.
Mm-mm,
I
no,
could have
never
married
doing
an
that.
American if I wanted to be married to an American.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
no. Nope,
Yeah.
that does not fit the paradigm of the man I selected.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it was a big deal
Exactly.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I get that. I mean, identity is a huge piece of all of our um personal lives and the lives of the people around us. So, it makes
Hmm.
sense to me.
Absolutely. And in that work to redefine who we are at this stage, at any stage, right? Um, I mean, I have exercises in the book that you saw. I don't know if you took the time to do any of them this time around, but like writing your eulogy
Mhm.
and I like the user manual.
I do too,
I
a lot. In
love the
fact,
user manual exercise.
I did not do exercises because I wanted to just make sure I got through the book, but I have notes of places I am going to go back to, and I love the user manual. I feel like actually that should be sort of mandatory first, not maybe first date, but like if somebody's worth going on another date with, then maybe it's just a, hey, I brought along my user manual. I thought
Yeah,
maybe that would cut through a lot of what's going to complicate this if we just get right
absolutely.
to
Oh, it
it.
would work brilliantly for that, Dana. I love it. It'd be
Yeah.
like, I prefer WhatsApp to
Yes.
FaceTime. I,
Yeah.
you
Please
know.
don't send me any body part images. That's never going to work for
Please
me.
don't
Thank
do
you so
that.
much.
Please
Yeah.
don't call me before 7 or after 10 or,
Yeah.
you know.
Yes.
So
I
the
mean,
user manual is really like if you had to explain your life
mhm.
and the way you work to somebody else, what would it be
Yeah.
like? When I'm in a bad mood, like I sometimes just need 5 minutes of fresh air. If you had to explain to someone what you needed when you were in a bad mood, like, please just ignore me. I just need to go outside for 5 minutes. You're only able to explain that to somebody if you figure that out for yourself,
Yeah.
right? So the
Yeah.
whole
The
point
user
is figuring
manual
out for yourself,
is
what do you like?
actually so valuable
Yeah.
for your own edification, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get to choose. If you're writing this manual, you get to choose like, what do I need in those
Mhm.
moments of
Mhm.
what time of day do I get my best work done?
Mm.
What time of day am I completely useless? All of those things to be able to decide, oh, I get to write this down now. So what is it
Yeah.
right now? Not
Yeah.
what did I used
No.
to think it should be, or what is it supposed to be, or what
Yeah,
is the
what
thing
did
that
people tell
sounds
you it was
good?
supposed to be? Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. So you touched on this at the beginning, but this book is really in three parts, sort of your old stories, your past, your
Hmm.
present, and then this reimagining the future. And I enjoy the entire book, but the future stuff I think is really valuable because um not everybody has dealt with their past. I encourage everybody to deal with their past. You certainly can envision a much healthier, different, better future if you
Yeah.
aren't dragging along every experience, good, bad, and otherwise from your past. But, I wanted to read this quick section from the future part of the
Oh,
book.
sure.
You say, when we think of growth, be that our own or in someone else, we think of the outward changes in their appearance, work status, behaviors, or even bank accounts. But more often than not, that outward change in appearance or status is preceded by a far quieter change. The first kind of growth is subtle. Sometimes it's something that as a coach, I can recognize in my clients before they see it themselves. It's internal growth. We all know that picture of the iceberg with the top part of it sticking out of the water representing external growth and the larger portion of it underwater and unseen that had to happen first. And then there are five sections to this: responsibility, attitude, improved mental game, courage, and identity.
Hmm.
Kate, talk a little bit about this because I loved these five areas. I felt like they so succinctly sort of between the writing and the assignments gave you the opportunity to say, "Oh, wow. So this is kind of what I'm thinking about going forward and I didn't even really know that's what I was thinking."
Yeah. Yeah. I love these 5 levels. Something that I really discovered, you probably have seen this in your own coaching work as well, time after time. But, somebody comes to you and they say, "Well, I can't do this because,"
Mhm,
and, it's not, quite it's not always an outright victim mentality, but there's always an external reason. Like somebody is keeping them from something, or they're not the right
mhm,
type of person. Like, I'll never get a role because I'm too old, right?
mm,
Um, and really starting to take responsibility for getting what you want, no matter
mhm.
what external things you think are happening outside. My in the orchestral world, in the music world, everybody says like, well, you'll never win an orchestra job. You'll never win a full-time job over the age of 30 because they need you to be paying into the pension fund longer.
Wow.
And that's something that everyone can be like, oh, that's a real reason. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. It's not that a 40 or 50-year-old doesn't play better or as well. It's just that they want the young people to kind of mold them and pay into the pension fund and be there for a long time, right? And so there are a lot of people who say, like, when they're 40, well, I'll never win a job. I should just give up. Well, one of my best friends, a brilliant violinist, she just won her first full-time job in her late 40s. It's a big job. It's a
That's so
huge job.
exciting.
Huge job. And so everybody around went like, "Oh, I guess that excuse just got taken off the table," right? So the first level is when you can finally take responsibility of like, you know what, it's no one else's responsibility to help me get what I want. It would be nice if people want to help me, that's fine, I'll take it. But it is, if I want it, it's my responsibility to figure out how to go after and get it. And then that second level of attitude of like, I can. Simply
Yeah.
like going from like, no, I never could, or there's no way, or there are all these obstacles to let me have a better attitude about how I can go after this.
Mm-hmm.
Positive outlook, however you want to think about it. And then the third one is that improved mental game of like, I see a client who suddenly is able to sort of fight through their imposter syndrome.
Mm,
I always tell them like, we never get rid of our imposter syndrome. It's always there.
mm-hmm.
But we can build, we can improve our mindset skills so that we can stare it down and just say, "Thanks. Hey, nice to see you again. Like, I got this. I'm all good." You can come along for the ride. That's fine. Here we go. We're going, right? So to see that improved mental game in a client who, when they say like, "Oh, I was so scared, but you know what, Kate? I just I just thought of what you said, and it's just, yeah, it didn't really matter what other people think. They're probably not even paying attention. I'm just gonna, and I did it anyway." I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and they're probably talking about like writing an email, like maybe they didn't even send it, right? Like
Right.
we're taking baby steps here.
Yep.
And the third one is courage. The third one is sending the email.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably hear this all of the time. But I'm not gonna do that yet because I'm not feeling confident.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just want to work on it a little bit more. And then when I feel confident, I'll do it. It's like, well, I always ask them this question, like, what's something you feel really confident about? And everybody I ask this in talks and workshops that I'm facilitating, everybody has something that they feel really confident about. And I ask them how many times they have done that thing. And it's like, oh, I've done it my whole life, or I do it all the time. I'm like, great. That's why you feel confident,
Right. Right.
right? But if you could remember the first time you did it, this thing that you feel so confident about, it probably took a lot of courage. You were probably scared out of your mind to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you showed up with courage and you did it and you didn't die. The world didn't end. And then you brought up some more courage and you did it a second time and you didn't die and the world didn't end and you were okay. And slowly but surely you're like, oh, okay, now I feel confident. So getting them when I see them do that thing with courage. I have some, working with a lot of musicians and artists, a lot of our work sadly revolves around posting on social media, right? And
Okay.
sort of getting over that fear of posting their work and, seeming like they're promoting themselves. And what often happens is that they will send me a post before they post it. They'll send me a photo, they'll send me a video of their work, and they'll be like, "Do you think this is okay?" And I was like, "Well, do you think it's okay? Like, do you like it?" Talk them through. They're like, "Yeah, I think so. I think I'm gonna post it." Okay, great. And my happiest days as a coach is when I open up Instagram and I see a client has posted something that they did not,
That you haven't seen
I
yet.
have not
Yeah.
seen before. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, they did it. And then that final step, level 5, is the identity of when they see themselves. So one example is that I have a client who is a musician and she wants to do some more solo work. She's commissioning a big piece that she would be a soloist in. And we worked through a lot of imposter syndrome. She's like, who am I? I'm just a freelancer. I'm not a soloist. And a couple weeks ago, she said something. She's like, she got this big assignment in an orchestra she plays with. It's a big solo. And she said, I didn't bat an eyelash, Kate, when I got that assignment because I am a soloist. Now, she hasn't
Amazing.
done her project. She hasn't actually gotten up and played a big solo. Yet the fact that she identifies as like, this is who I am. I haven't done it yet, but that's who I am. Then you are completely poised to just like move forward, do the project, kick butt, take some names. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing to see.
it's such a powerful sequence of mind shifts.
Hmm.
Um, and I really appreciated it. The, you also do some things that I think are just so smart in this book because they're so um you make seemingly impossible things feel very possible. And what I'm really talking about is looking at your year, your quarter, your month, your week,
Hmm.
your day.
Yeah.
Um, and interestingly, that doesn't work for me.
Really?
No, because I'm not linear in any sort of logical, straight way.
Ah, interesting.
Um, but what it made me think was, but maybe I would be more effective if I just stopped telling myself, well, I don't think this way and tried
Mm.
it. What the book really does is without blaming or shaming, it invites you to just say, maybe,
Mhm.
about really how you identify, how you work, how you show up, how you dream, how you pursue, how you take action.
Mhm.
It is really, I think, that simple. Maybe,
Mhm.
but that is like climbing Mount Everest and jumping off the top to redefine any facet of your life, which starts to feel like it's your core,
Yeah. It's
is
like
not.
diving into a swamp.
Yes, yes. So I love the book because it's utterly undramatic.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean there's just nothing about it that is scary or well only some kinds of people can even think this way. It's a book for creatives that is in some ways completely lacking in creativity. And
Yeah.
that's a really good thing
Yeah.
because creatives know how to be creative. What they
Exactly.
sometimes don't know how to do is anything else.
Anything else, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's actually not even for creatives, really.
Right.
The
Yes.
publishing industry, they're like, niche. Who is this
Right.
for? Like, what
Right.
one person is this book for? I'm like, oh God.
Cellists. Yeah.
So yeah, it really you can give it to your accountant friends too. Um, but yeah, no, I love what you said about that, that it made you stop and think like, oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Because
Maybe it's
that's
just the story I've been telling myself because it makes me feel unique.
yeah.
It makes
And
me
maybe
feel like
you
I'm
would
not a
find
cubicle person.
yeah, maybe you would find in that exploration, maybe you would say like, okay, you know what? I love the freedom of, I love the looking at a quarter
Hmm.
and seeing some options. I
Hmm.
love looking at my month of what I want to accomplish. But when it comes to each week, that feels a little restraining to me
Hmm.
because of my life, because I need things to be a little bit more flexible than that.
Hmm.
And then you're like, okay, all right, that's my user manual, right? That
Yes.
like I focus on the month and the quarter
Yep.
and give myself more freedom within that.
Hmm.
And you're like, yeah, I think that's how I work best. Great. Then you've questioned it, you've redefined it, and you can move forward reigniting your time management life, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I just I really um I want to encourage people to get the book regardless of what your profession has been or
Mhm.
your passion or your dream, whether that's been articulated or not, because I think you're right. I think accountants are not just accountants. That's their
Yeah.
job, and maybe it's their job because they really love to help people, whatever, or maybe it's their job because they get a great big paycheck. I don't really care why it's their job, but that is not all a person is who happens to be an accountant
Yeah.
any more than you were not just a cellist.
I have a friend who is in reinsurance. She has a
Yeah, okay,
corporate
so
job.
I figured that's gotta be a Barbados thing. That must have
Bermuda.
something to do
Yeah,
Bermuda,
yeah.
sorry,
Bermuda is a
Bermuda thing.
big, has a big reinsurance
What does that
sector.
even mean?
It's the companies that insure insurance companies.
Okay, I kind of guessed that, but I thought, "Wow, that sounds really terrible."
Yeah, they're brokering 10 billion. Well, they're not all really terrible, I will say. They're
I
not
don't
all
mean
really.
they sound terrible, just the job sounds terrible.
Oh, yeah, they're all a bunch of nerdy actuaries and underwriters. Yeah, they're yeah, but they're fascinating people.
Yeah,
Like they're just their brains. And I think because they also tend to be high achievers and went after, a certain industry and a certain
mhm,
standard, it resonates with them. But I think she ordered 5 books. She pre-ordered 5 copies of the book for a bunch of people to give as gifts, and then she got them, and then a stacker finally arrived at the Bermuda bookstore, our local bookstore. It took forever for them to arrive, and she went in and she bought them out, not to support me, but because she wanted to give them to everybody she knew. So,
okay,
and that's great because none of the people she knows are musicians and creatives.
sure.
Right. So she's like, no, this book is really helpful and this is great. And I'm giving it to everybody I know. So that felt really good. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think on the cover it says it's for creatives and it certainly deals with a lot of the topics that we have to deal with, but it is not, if you're not a creative, you won't be lost reading this book, I don't think.
No, because it's not about did you practice your scales today
Right. Yeah. No,
and,
it has nothing, there's nothing specific
which
in it.
Brandenburg concerto is your favorite movement, and it's not about that
Yeah. No,
at
not at
all.
all. Not at all. It's very
You
user
just
friendly.
happen to have been a musician. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. The author is telling this work through your lens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
an actuary could have written this book. It's just all the examples would be about actuary science as opposed to the musical world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. I am very proud of it. I think it's a culmination of many, many years of work and thinking through things and processes. I took the 3-year messy period of transitioning from, one industry to another and put it in 200 pages so people didn't have to suffer through 3 years of awkward messiness. Um,
I just feel like you've moved incredibly fast. I
in
mean, when you talk
hindsight,
about the
yeah.
years of, Kate, we're talking 5 years, Kate. 5 years
Mhm.
ago, you were essentially a full time cellist.
Yeah.
And now you are a full time author, speaker, coach,
Mhm.
and some other stuff still in
And
the
some other
music
stuff,
world,
gardener and conductor.
gardener and conductor.
Yeah.
But 5 years in the big picture is nothing.
Yeah. It's there were clues along the way.
Sure.
And I think there always are. In
Yeah.
hindsight, you always see the clues of I was always given a little bit extra responsibility in every role that I had. I
Mm-hmm.
ran chamber music. I didn't just coach chamber music groups. I was called in to run the program, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was always somebody who liked to think in bigger picture ways and big project ways. It's just how
Mm-hmm.
my brain works. And when I first started out and I didn't have a lot of clients, but they say you got to put testimonials up and everything. What I did have was a lot of end of year notes and cards and graduation notes from students, from my
Mm-hmm.
cello students. And so many of them talked about our work together as if I was their coach. And a lot of them said, like, you were as much my coach and mentor as you were about my cello teacher, or like you taught me as much about how to move through life as how to play Bach. And
Mm-hmm.
they were brilliant testimonials, but it also showed me that I have been doing this work my whole career.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what a gift that you both pursued it for yourself, that COVID came along and gave you the gift of forced change,
Yeah.
that you had the wherewithal to lean into that. And then that you put this book together for the rest of us so that we don't have to keep floundering. We can really work through this step by step process, which is unique to each of us. And the book
That's
really allows for everybody to come to whatever their future plan is going to be, however they come to it. And that's one of the great gifts of the book. So thank you for
Oh,
that.
thank you, Dana. That is my hope and my intention. And yeah, thank you for speaking so beautifully to that.
Well, it's a beautiful book. So I really encourage people to get Beyond Potential. Obviously, it'll all be in the show notes and everything else, but it is well worth your time if you are feeling like, I wonder if this is really where I want to be.
Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
great way to keep checking that out in a very low stakes, high reward kind of way. So, Kate, thank you so, so much for joining me.
Thank you, Dana. And I encourage all of you listeners to come follow me on Instagram at Kayaian. I do talk about the book a lot. I give little teasers and little exercises from the book so you can get a little taste of it. And yeah, come say hello, get the book. Local bookstores, bookshop.org, Amazon, and barnesandnoble.com, of course. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. Dana,
I
thank
think,
you so much. It's been a pleasure.
thank you, Kate, and everybody else. We will talk very soon. Thanks for joining me on Brave Middle Ground. I hope today's conversation inspired you to embrace the power of the in between and take steps toward deeper connection and understanding. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. Your support grows our community and keeps these meaningful conversations going. For more information on Brave Middle Ground and everything else I'm working on, go to danadelval.com. Brave Middle Ground is mixed by Sound Advice, and our music is by Quinn Del Val. Until next time, I'm Dana Del Val. Stay curious, stay courageous, and stay connected.